Hi, everyone. Welcome to the fifth and final virtual session I'm hosting as part of my Girl Scout Gold Award project. Thank you all for coming. I just want to reiterate one more time that this session is being recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube later today, so you can all always go back and access it, and others can watch it in the future. Today, we'll be talking about what it's like to study engineering in college and hearing from our two guest speakers about their experiences as Hispanics studying to become engineers. Before we get started, I want you all to take a minute to fill out the form I'm going to put in the chat. It's super quick, only 2 multiple choice questions. And then at the end of the session, you'll fill out the same form to see how much your mindset has changed. So I'll put it in the chat and take a minute to do that, please. And then when you're done, you can put a thumbs up here. Okay, great. So it seems like most of you guys are done, and if not, you still have time to do it. So let's get started. The first thing I want to do is have you all meet our guest speakers, Diana and Joey. So Diana, I'll have you go first, and can you tell us your name, a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what university you attend, and what major you study?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Diana Guillen. I attend Columbia University and I'm studying chemical engineering with a concentration in biotechnology and biopharmaceuticals, and I'm on the pre-law track. So very, very long name. But basically my main interests are in chemical engineering and that sort of intersection with biotech and biopharma. And I'm interested in maybe going into patent law, things like that.
That's great. So now we'll have you go, Joey. Can you say your name, where you're from, what university you attend, and what major you study?
Okay, hi, I'm Joey. I'm from Tampa. I go to USF. I study electrical engineering with a focus in bioelectronics and a minor in physics. And let me, who's the, where you from, your name, country? I think I got it.
Okay, cool. So from here on out, I'll ask a couple questions and you can both answer when you're ready if you need a minute to think about it. For the students, if you have a burning question, we'll have a Q&A at the end. So if you can wait, just leave it for then and we'll have it get answered. So let's get started. The first question is, what has your educational path looked like so far and how do you expect to continue your career? So who wants to go first?
I can go first. I forgot to mention I am from Georgia, so my educational path, uh, I was kind of always interested in like the harder classes. I took a lot of APs, and I was also in the IB diploma in high school. So a lot of just like STEM heavy IBs and APs. And now I'm looking at like most of my course load is like STEM, which is like what I'm passionate about. I love looking into those like sorts of math heavy, science heavy things. And people often ask me like, "Oh, well, why are you pre-law studying engineering?" And it's because I honestly couldn't see myself studying something like poli-sci or like humanities. And so I think that like working in this sort of like science heavy field is a very unique perspective to be able to look into law and policy and things like that.
Okay, so starting out in high school, I had a lot of AP too, kind of physics and math, and I really enjoyed those classes, and I did good. Well, not I did okay on the AP exams, but I did good enough, so I knew I could like do the content good enough. So I knew what I wanted to do in college. I wanted to always go into engineering, especially growing up as a kid, hearing out all the articles and stuff about all the amazing technology going on. I knew I could handle physics. I knew I could handle math. So I knew I could handle the classes. So going in, I was pretty confident. And my freshman year was fine. My sophomore year was tough. My junior year was even harder. And my senior year is even harder, but I'm still getting through it and I still love it.
Yeah, that's great. So the next question is, you both obviously go to different colleges, so I wanted to know why you chose USF or Columbia and what job opportunities you hope to have based on your decision.
So I went to USF because of the financial aid and scholarships. They were very grateful. Um, they give out a lot of scholarships, especially for Hispanic background. So using that Hispanic heritage, they kind of gave me some extra money. So it was obviously enticing to go to USF, given that it was paid for. So that's the main reason I went to USF. Of course, they have a good engineering program, but that is the main reason. And what was the other question? It was like, why'd you go?
Oh, it was like what job opportunities you hope to
Oh
have.
yeah. Okay. So USF is in Tampa. They have a lot of power companies, medical companies. It's a city, so they have a lot of engineering companies. So a lot of these times, these companies come to our campus to recruit. Like they have events and everything where they have guest speakers, and you can talk with recruiters and stuff like that. So a lot of my friends have picked up job opportunities and internship opportunities with like the supporting companies. And these aren't small, like some of them are small, but some of them are rather large in our state. So just talking to people that come to our campus is a good way to start. And I would say I didn't get my internship through that. I got it through another way with still connections connected to my family. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities.
I think that my way that I chose Columbia was a little unique. I actually matched through the Questbridge National College match. And so like I knew that I was going there early decision, but that I think that I really was interested in Columbia just because it's a very research heavy institution. There's a lot of professors here who are, you know, researchers first and professors second, which is a very unique perspective. But the things that go on here, the kind of research that their labs get into, it's very groundbreaking, and I found like all of those different areas very enticing. And I just love like a big like theme in my life is versatility. And I just like was really enticed by the idea of having so many paths to choose from. And so for that reason, like I'm still looking at different job opportunities. I am interested in going to law school, possibly becoming a patent attorney or going into construction law. but I'm also very, very interested as of now, maybe going into like higher education with chemical engineering, pursuing some sort of master's or PhD, and then maybe going into industry. I'd love to work with like developing pharmaceuticals and kind of just on the bio side of engineering.
Yeah, they both seem like great schools. So the next question is, what do you each do in a typical day? Like, what does your average workload, class load look like?
Okay, so a lot of people, when they first enter engineering, they're worried about, you hear the stories and videos like I have zero free time, and I do have a lot of free time, but it's definitely a lot of workload. So I would say on the average day, I go to classes, and I would say I do at least 4 hours of homework every day. So it is a lot, but also when doing that, I like to do my homework during the day. It frees up the weekend. So if you get ahead of it, then I have the weekend free. So you definitely have free time as an engineer. So don't worry about it if you think you'll have like no social or anything outside of it. It is consuming, but it's not totally consuming your college life.
I'd have to say I have a very similar perspective on a average weekday. We have 4-day weeks, so like Monday through Thursday. I have anywhere from like 2 to 5 hours of classes, and then every day I'll probably spend 4 to 5 hours on homework, and it's just very like deep thinking. It's not that, oh, I have to be grinding this out for 4 hours. It's just sometimes I get distracted for 10 minutes and then you have to get back to work. So I think that there's a lot of self-discipline that comes into studying engineering. But yeah, like if you enjoy the courses that you're going through, if you enjoy like the work that you're looking at, if you like looking at math and science and everything, like it's not gonna be, oh, I have to do this right now. It's such a heavy like weight on my shoulders. It's sometimes you have to look at it with the perspective of, oh, I get to be here. I have the opportunity to do this. So it's just about like taking a good perspective and saying, this is what I like to do, and I don't think I would be happier doing anything else. So that's why I like to do work.
Yeah, so it definitely is rewarding. But like you both said, you have a lot of work in a typical day and a lot of um you have to find that balance in your life. So have you ever faced any like obstacles with having that balance or studying engineering in general, and how did you overcome them?
I think I can go. I think specifically as a Hispanic woman studying engineering, I don't have a lot of engineers in my family. I come from like homemakers and construction workers. My dad is a carpenter, things like that. Like I am the first engineer in my family. And so I think that a lot of studying engineering is finding opportunities, unique opportunities to look into the niches that you're interested in. And an obstacle that I faced is finding opportunities to be able to cultivate those kinds of interests. And it's really hard when you don't have anyone to look to in terms of like, oh, do you have any advice? Do you have any connections? And so a big obstacle is finding the kind of motivation within yourself to be looking, the internet is free. We're like free to just look at all of those resources online. And so overcoming it, I think it's just a lot of like self-motivation, discipline, and putting time and effort into what you're passionate about.
I can go. So I would say a big obstacle is when I first failed a test in engineering. So I've like never ever failed a test in my life. So that was huge. So the classes get harder as you go on, but if you really love doing it, then it's an interesting class. It's an interesting topic, and I love doing it. But that doesn't make it necessarily easy, which isn't bad. So I remember when I walked into the test and then reading everything over and then figuring out that I know nothing. So I knew immediately that it was not going to be good. And then when I got the results, it pretty much confirmed that. But then with that, with that failing, then that showed me what I had to do next time is even study harder, go out and study groups and stuff. It was more about coming back. So I ended up coming back and having a good score at the end for the class, but it taught me a lesson. Like it's not easy, but you can get through it. And as long as you keep pushing, you'll be fine.
So Diana, you mentioned that you felt a little bit out of place sometimes not having that connection in your family and being sort of first gen in engineering. So, but did you ever feel out of place like at your school, especially as a Hispanic person, and how did you deal with it?
Yeah, so I actually had a really difficult freshman year. I forgot to mention I'm only a sophomore. So my freshman year was definitely a very big change coming from a small suburb in Georgia all the way to New York City. It was um somewhat alienating, not only because I'm a Hispanic woman, but just because I felt like a very small fish in a very, very big pond. And so a lot of that involved me kind of closing off and just doing my work alone, trying to like get all of my work done and do my best without making, social connections. I think that that is one of the most crucial parts of college is making connections with people, not only for like work benefit, but also because friends are so necessary, especially in getting through engineering. There aren't a lot of Hispanic women in the engineering program at Columbia. And so I've kind of gotten through that by just like making connections with other women in engineering. There are a lot of us, and a lot of us recognize that it is a male dominated sphere and it's difficult to be getting through classes and not really feeling like your like space has been made for you. And so sometimes you have to make that space for yourself. You have to like speak up in class. You have to let it be known that you have connections with other people and that like you guys are getting through this class together. So just last night I was talking to the other girls in chemical engineering. We're kind of small department this year. We're only 30 people that declared. And half of those are women. That is a lot. Um, and so we just kind of feel a little bit alienated by the males in that sphere because a lot of the times, men don't want to be the minority. And so when you kind of force them to be, it makes people open up their perspectives. And so dealing with it a lot is just opening up your perspective and like making connections that aren't just people in your like sphere. You can always, join affinity groups with like other Hispanic students, join like Society of Women in Engineers, which I'm a part of. But also be open to like making connections with people that aren't necessarily in those spheres. So like a man from a different culture, you have to be open to making connections with other different like people from different backgrounds.
I never what do you call it? Felt particularly like outcast or anything. I'm lucky enough. Tampa has a decent sized Latino population, so I've had friends, and like she said, a lot of organizations still stand with like a lot of Hispanics. There's a Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers is like one of the biggest across like all campuses. So it's all Hispanics and all the different engineering majors. So I wouldn't say I couldn't find any connections with any. So um, that one, I don't think I've really had a problem in that sense.
And that's what's pretty great about South Florida. Uh,
Yeah, I
lots of
did want to speak on
connections.
that point. Like I think that Colombia has a very large like international population, so that like if you're looking at different engineering programs, it's important to look at what kind of like demographics go into what like majors. If having people that are like you is very important, I would not necessarily go into chemical engineering at Columbia University if that were something that was crucial to me. So like finding like understanding the demographics that go to your school is a crucial part that I wish I had looked into when I was looking into colleges.
Yeah, it's pretty important to some people, so it's definitely interesting to hear about that. Um, well, on another note, what you both study different majors in engineering, so I wanted to know what your favorite part of studying either electrical or chemical engineering has been. Like, have you had a favorite class or internship or research opportunity?
Yeah, so we didn't really get into like most of the circuit building until the upper division. So now that I'm finally in it, I absolutely love the major because we kind of learn like all the different stuff that goes into your phone, all the different sensors and connections. So like a basic phone, not quite the iPhone. So maybe go back a decade ago, I could kind of figure it out, but it's super cool because it's kind of right now we're kind of building up still the foundations and everything. I'm sure like when you go like grad school, PhD, and other go out into the industry, you'll learn more. But so all this foundational stuff still applies to like all the electronic devices. So it's pretty cool learning how to quite build circuits that or the circuits that go into all the different electronic places. Even in my internship, we did PCB design, which is printed circuit boards. It's like the kind of like the motherboards that go into your computer. So it was super cool learning how to use the software and everything to build those that go into different systems.
So studying chemical engineering has a lot of different like facets to it. I think it is one of the most versatile like engineering majors. I'd have to say that electrical engineering is a little bit more versatile, but I really love the intersection of engineering and chemistry. So my favorite class so far has probably been like my general chemistry lab. That was like, it's not necessarily an engineering course, but it definitely taught me some really important like wet lab skills that are applicable to different research opportunities, especially when professors want to know that you have some sort of like wet lab research under your belt. That kind of class does apply, and you learn a lot of like the safety basics, procedure basics, writing up labs, things like that. So it's definitely very rewarding when a class that you take actually has like real life implications. Um, but I also did an internship this summer. I did it back home. It was in Suwanee, Georgia, and I worked with a process controls firm, which is like if you think about reactors and stuff, process controls kind of just goes into like the electronics and the different software and hardware that goes into controlling those sort of processes that go inside reactors. And so it was definitely a very interesting experience just because I realized that that side of chemical engineering is the exact opposite of what I want to go into. And so even though I had a lot of fun during it, that's what internships are for, is like learning what you do and don't like, making good connections, and just having fun, making a little bit of money. And I know that I don't want to be sitting at my computer, making like hardware drawings on CAD for the rest of my life. It's just not, it was definitely a good learning experience, definitely some really good transferable skills, but confirmed what I don't want to do.
So both of you talked a little bit about like higher education and grad school and possibly pursuing them. So I wanted to know like, would you pursue grad school or other higher education and why?
Okay, so right now I'm a senior, so I'm gonna start. I already am applying to different kind of grad schools. So a lot of advice was given to me before taking it because it's a huge thing for us to either go into industry or like the professional world or go and pursue more education. So it's always a debate with like resources, times, and what you want. So of course it's completely up to you. But a lot of the advice I was given from a lot of people is a master's can get you a little bit further in industry learning. And if you're really passionate about this stuff, then and have the resources and time, of course, then the master's is worth it because it will give you that little boost in the industry and a little bit more experience with research and maybe getting more internships during your time as a master's. And of course, you get to learn about more of the subject you want and go deeper into the studies. So personally, I am going into a master's. I do not plan on going all the way to a PhD, but that is my plan for now.
I think before coming to Columbia, I had never like considered higher education. I was just like, oh, well, I'm just in it to get my bachelor's and get out. But I think that there is a very, very heavy like emphasis in engineering of higher education if you're wanting to like Joey said, like get more into the niches of what you're interested in, and just dig deep into the specifics of like what you want to go into. A master's can get you very far, and of course it's going to like once you do go into industry, or wherever you choose to go, like higher education is always going to get you a higher salary. But just coming out with just a bachelor's, I'm sure I could like get like a process engineering job or some sort of like basic lab research. But currently I am looking into, law schools possibly. I would probably also be interested in doing some sort of JD, PhD or JD like MS with uh chemical engineering just because I am very passionate about it, and getting into the niches, especially in like the biotech sphere, it does require higher education. So I think it just requires a lot of like introspective, what am I looking into, and can a bachelor's like just a bachelor's get me there? So yeah, definitely a big supporter if you have the time and resources, like Joey said.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing I thought was pretty interesting was you both talked about getting scholarships for undergraduate degrees, and like you talked about Questbridge, Diana, and Joey, I assume you probably had something with Bright Futures, or for those in Florida who are familiar with it. So if you could both talk about those each a little more, I think it would be super interesting.
Okay, so I'll start with Bright Futures. Bright Futures is the main thing here in Florida. So it pays. So there's different Bright Futures. I don't know. I'll explain it. I don't know if you guys know it, but so there's different tiers of Bright Futures. Like it pays like 50% tuition, 75% tuition, 100% tuition. It's based on your different scores and volunteer services, and to meet the requirements, you can go on their website and figure it out. I know they always change too. They're changing, but so that was also a huge factor for me to staying in Florida. I got the full Bright Futures, so all my tuition and stuff is paid for because I got the scores necessary to meet the requirements. And then on top of USF scholarship, so I took the PSAT in junior year. I got a high enough score, so I got a scholarship from USF. Additionally to them, and they gave me another scholarship because I think for part of like my scores and academics for Hispanics, so they gave me that too. So everything stacked on top of each other, basically paid for everything. So in state, especially in Florida, is always an opportunity I would look for.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I'm a Questbridge National College Match Scholar, so I essentially had like my full tuition paid for. But if you are looking into like Questbridge, I'd say, definitely look into the specifics to each school, because even though it said that it was a full scholarship, for Columbia specifically, there was like a huge student contribution. That doesn't necessarily mean like zero family contribution. So there was still a bit left on my bill. But then I also ended up getting the Gates Scholarship, which is like Bill Gates Foundation. Um, and so that essentially paid for everything else. But then I also looked into a lot of like local scholarships. So like in my, suburban high school area, They would give like a couple thousand here or there, but if you apply to a lot of them and you end up getting them, then like that sort of those cash like awards really add up. So yeah, I've like had a couple thousand just to be able to pocket, spend on clothes, just like different things that like, everyday life comes with. So definitely like look into your local scholarships because, that's like cash that goes directly in your pocket.
Yeah, it's definitely important to be looking for all sorts of scholarships, and it's interesting to hear when people take different opportunities and take advantage of them. So that's super cool. My last question is, what advice would you have to young people who are unsure if they should go into engineering?
I think that as someone who I wasn't always sure that I wanted to go into engineering. I knew that I like loved math and science, but I also just was kind of confused as to like where I wanted to take my life up until my senior year of high school. And so if you're like questioning if you should go into engineering, I really would recommend like actually looking at your STEM classes and saying, is this something that I enjoy, or am I just getting through it to get through high school, to get my high school diploma? So I think that like it's easy to get like caught up in just trying to get through the day. But if you're considering going into engineering, you have to know that it's very math heavy, it's science heavy, and um that has to be something that you like doing. And if it's not something that you like doing, maybe it's something you prefer doing over writing. I hate writing. I'd rather do 100 physics problems, and I hate physics. So imagine that. But if you're unsure, I'd really recommend like if you have access to AP classes, like I think that that's one of the best things that you can do. Like being able to take those exams and see, is this something that I enjoyed? One of my favorite classes in high school was AP Computer Science Principles. Like that was, and I self-studied that, so that was like a lot of work that I put into learning a computer science language, that not only did I really enjoy that, but I also like gained very transferable skills and skills that I even use to this day. So I'd say just looking into different classes that like you might be interested in taking, and if you end up not liking it, at least you tried, you know. So definitely looking into different classes and just pausing and considering, do I love this?
Okay, so I always wanted to go into engineering since I was a kid, just watching YouTube videos or reading articles about different technologies. So to that, I would say, I mean, it depends. It really depends on who you are. If you really love like STEM classes and kind of interested, just you can read about it or just like I did watch videos and it kind of goes over the basics. And if you like, oh my God, this is really interesting, and then you want to carry that on, of course you can always find out that, you know, okay, this is not what I want to do, which is fine too. It's just trying to testing it out. With electrical too, it's pretty cool because originally I always wanted to go to like the bio kind of route, but there's different routes. I'm sure that every engineering, but electrical, you could go to power, wireless, bio, robots, like robotic systems and stuff like that. So there was just a bunch of pathways, even if I wasn't sure about a specific pathway, I could switch even within my own major. So that was always nice to reassuring.
Okay, great. So those are all my questions, and your answers were super insightful and inspiring. So now I'll turn it over to everyone else. If you have a question, you can raise your hand or type it in the chat, and we'll try to answer it. So please don't be shy. We want to hear your questions. Give them a minute. Okay, so we have a question. What AP classes would you recommend if wanting to pursue engineering? You guys talked about this a little, but you can give more answers.
Yeah, I definitely recommend if you have access to some sort of AP computer science class. I really enjoyed that. That might be a little bit biased, but I just really enjoyed learning how to code, especially because like you can always build on that sort of knowledge. And a lot of like internships and jobs look for the ability to be able to code. So definitely recommend computer science and probably if you have access to some sort of AP Calc. I personally took AP BC when I was a junior, and that like definitely cemented my love for math. And it's not an easy class, but it definitely sets a lot of like ground foundational knowledge, especially for this like sorts of like calculus that you have to do in college. So right now I'm doing like multivariable calculus at my school, and sometimes I look back at my high school notes and say, okay, I don't remember how to do this derivative. So definitely very helpful even in college math. I really personally loved AP chemistry. Not an easy class. It's hard. But also cemented my love for chemistry and sort of reactions on a bigger level. Um, so definitely recommend that one, and any sort of like if you have like a niche interest, like if you're interested in electrical or mechanical, maybe going into physics and stuff like that, AP physics. Or if you're interested in like bio, sort of like chemical, like things like that, AP chemistry, AP bio, just kind of looking at your interests and looking at the bigger, more applicable classes.
Yeah, I kind of say the same thing. AP Calc, AB, BC, AP Physics, like A, B, or 1 or 2. I forgot what they call it, but I'd say Physics 2 is more my side, dealing with like electrons and stuff. So that's the basic foundations of my major. So I would say, of course, I like that class, so it was a good class for my major. So I would just say trying out all the different AP kind of classes to push you.
So kind of jumping off of that, I actually wanted to know, you talk about both taking APs in high school and uh like looking at different colleges. Sometimes they accept the AP credits or not. So did either of your schools accept the AP credits, or did you have to take placement exams, or how did that really work with transferring the credits?
Okay. USF was really good at this, so I got to use all my mostly AP credits. So I skipped Calc 1 and 2. It allowed me, which was huge because Calc 2 is very hard here. I hear from like other students, so I'm grateful I didn't take that. So a lot of there's different opinions on this that you might get. You want People might want to take do calc again because they can learn it again, or learn from different professor styles and get more like foundational for their college career. And some people skip it, like me, to try to save time and continue moving and get a head start. So I would say the head start helped me, but some people would say that the getting Calc 2 down helped them in later classes and stuff. So USF was very good about transferring all the credits. For physics, my physics credits did not transfer because I took them in algebra based physics and calculus based physics, calculus wait, yeah, calculus-based physics is required for engineering, so I didn't get those credits, but they definitely transfer um, credits, and it can help you save some.
I'd have to say I have the exact opposite experience. Columbia, a lot of the bigger, like especially the Ivy Leagues, aren't as good at transferring credits. The only like I got good scores on all of my like STEM classes, and I could have started with multi, which is what I'm taking now, calculus, with my BC score, but I chose to go with Calc 1 first, just because I took BC COVID year, it was completely online. I was like, I don't think I have a great like basis of calculus. I'll start with one first. And one was very, very easy because I already had like all of that knowledge. And similarly, calculus 2 at my school was pretty hard. And I had kind of a little bit of a harder time with that, but it still wasn't like too bad. And now I feel like I had like a really good basis to be doing well in multivariable calculus. And you know, believe it or not, like the only scores that transferred for me were humanities. So I got 3 credits for my AP US history score, which I got like a 5. And then I also took IB French and IB English, and both of those transferred, and I got 6 credits for that. But considering that you need 128 credits to graduate here, it definitely wasn't too big of a dent in my experience. So definitely looking into if your AP scores are important to you and you've done well, like just look up like, oh, this school AP credit transfer, and it'll have a table and it'll tell you exactly what transfers. But no, mine didn't transfer too well.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that it's more difficult with the Ivy Leagues in particular, uh, but it's something to look into. And then I have one more question actually, which is, we talk a lot about what you guys do in engineering, but what is your favorite thing to like spend your time on when you're not doing school? Like, what do you have a hobby, or how do you maintain that work-life balance?
Okay, I guess I can go. I think that something that's super important to me is like keeping up with like physical health, being able to just like go to the gym, or I really love doing Pilates. Like, New York City is like the Pilates capital. And so I love just being able to go downtown, take the train and just like spend my little afternoon or my Friday mornings just going down into the city and like doing a nice workout class, and then coming back and of course doing work. But I also really like makeup and stuff. I like, and that helps me stand out, especially as an engineer, just like being girly, liking fashion. I also do nails. That's like my favorite hobby. So like I loved like being able to bring all my nail stuff to New York City, and doing people's nails on the side for a little extra money is always great. So that's what I like. I just like girly things and nails, makeup, Pilates, everything like that.
I would say kind of repeating the same thing, like physical health. So I like to go to the gym, play pickup soccer, do all kind of physical activities. I go out a lot of. I really like Tampa because it's a city and it's more stuff to do than my hometown. You can go bowling, watch movies, which you can do in my hometown, but it's easier here to be honest. And it's really also like my hometown. It has a lot of beaches, so I like kayaking, going to the beach, paddleboarding, and things like that. So there's a lot of water with like the bay and um the I forgot it's the Gulf of Mexico on that side. And then so I would say that's my favorite thing to do is just go out to the water.
Great. It's honestly so nice to see when people have different ways of spending their time, and you can see more of the like humanity behind it, that you have free time to do fun stuff too, even though you're working hard. Um, so that's it for me. And if you guys don't have any more questions, we all have busy schedules, so we'll just have last two things and then you guys are all free to go. So first, I want to thank you both for coming today to talk to us because you've been so great. And if you would like, I can share your information in the description of the YouTube video so people can reach out to you if they have more questions. Um, so you can let me know about that. And then the last thing we're going to do is have that super short survey from the beginning again. So I'll put it in the chat. And then if you guys can just take it real quick, and then you're free to go. So thank you all for coming. And Diana and Joey, you're free to go now too. So have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, you
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
And don't forget to take that survey, guys. Thanks, everyone.